So, Berry Gordy III, the founder of Motown Records right here in Motown, created some of the most legendary stars of all time. Diana Ross, Stevie Wonder, Smokey Robinson, the Pips, etc. So many stars you just can't believe. Who happened to have a movie that he collaborated with in producing, Berry Gordy's The Last Dragon. A tribute parody of all the martial arts movies that came out in the 1970s, 1980s with a jamming soundtrack. Martial arts student Leroy Green Timac is on a quest to obtain the elusive, all-powerful force known as the Glow. Along the way, he must battle the evil, self-proclaimed Shogun of Harlem, a kung fu warrior known as Sho'nuff, played by Julius J. Carey III, and rescue the beautiful singer, Prince Protege Vanity, from an obsessed record promoter. Combining pulsating music, cutting-edge dancing, and the best in non-stop action, Berry Gordy's The Last Dragon's kicking good fun, featuring an amazing Motown soundtrack, including music by Stevie Wonder, The Temptations, Vanity, and DeBarge performing their smash hit Rhythm of the Night. This is a good movie. This is, you know how I kind of reviewed Streets of Fire, like 4 months ago or something like that? This is the Motown version of that. This is a fun movie, alright? This is something meant to be, like I said, it's a tribute to it's like Bruce Lee is, of course, the number one inspiration for it, because they show Enter the Dragon, Fists of Fury, and whatever the last one, and I know he did something else I forgot. They broadcast these movies. Bruce Lee Roy. Yeah, this is just a straight up tribute to him. But imagine if it was set in New York or whatever, and featured Motown / R&B in the 1980s. Yes, this is what it is. What was originally meant to be saying like, hey, I'm tired of playing Thug Number 3, so I'm just going to write a tribute of this martial artist who is completely dedicated to his craft, even calling his parents Mama-san, Papa-san, and even his little brother who gives him a lot of stuff. Usually this movie inverts stuff. It's like the older brother teases the younger brother. It's reversed. The younger brother teases the older brother. And instead of like the master, so like this mentor, what is it? The disciple between student and master, and the master saying like, only you can find the power within. I mean, he technically does, but then it turns out, in order to find this master, some SUM dumb guy, it turns out that it's a computer that is creating fortune cookies. And he goes back to his master and saying, where are you going? And I think the master would be going on a spiritual trip. Oh, I'm going to visit my mother in Miami. I got to catch my plane. So it's kind of taking all the, I guess, tropes or conventions you would see in kung fu movies, and just kind of inverting them, but in a non-offensive way that people would be like, all right, that's pretty funny. Soundtrack is, of course, amazing. You just have so many artists contributing to it. It really is just an incredible movie. There is the, what is it, diegetic, not didactic. There's a word for it. Think of like the Star Wars Cantina bar, how that's actually in universe. This one is out universe. That's used to augment some of the scenes. And when you talk about like some of the songs being performed, yeah, this movie it's also a spoof of MTV. What you got something called Laura's Heaven, which features a nice elaborate dance scene, and you got the power hungry. How do they describe him as record promoter? Eddie Arcadian. People know that name. Who's trying to get his video on there, and it is just sheer hilarity just to see him act over the top. It's an over-the-top hilarity that you would see in, like, what was that? The Langaniers. The Langaniers would be the best way to describe him. Yeah, it's just hilarious just to see what they will go. But of course, the character who steals the show is Show Nuff, who has his entourage, his entourage of people who say, "Who's the master? Show Nuff. Who's the one that's going to obtain the glow? Show Nuff." Like that. It's over the top, but it's great. It's great over the top that doesn't take itself seriously. That's the best part. It's like his hairstyle alone, it just screams 1980s with the mustache that goes like this. He's arguably the greatest star, but he's not just all talk. He is just pummeling and defeating fools, like handling 5 people in a movie theater. Enters a competition and pretty much just annihilates anyone that gets in his way. I would think that maybe outside of having a machine gun, he could pretty much, outside of facing a machine gun, a Gatling gun, and a pistol, he would pretty much win. And they do have the showdown in, wait for it, a warehouse, the biggest cliche of all time, but it works well. Look at just the spoof, just everything else going on. It also kind of gives a point of view of how some races may see each other. Not necessarily mocking, but kind of just playing with what was real and just kind of showing how it was like. So go ahead and say about that what you will. That does have to be mentioned. I have to say that. So I was slightly uncomfortable with that, but it's kind of minimal. So yeah. Yeah. You know, this movie is 100% popcorn entertainment. It does feature some actual good choreography. There's surprisingly not too much choreography. I mean, when it's there. It's great, but it's like a blending of many things. It's a spoof. It's a mishmash. It's a satire. I mean, even Vanity herself, who was actually a Prince protege, she would eventually renounce her sexual proclivities and I think she even discarded 1,000 tapes of all her music videos and stuff like that. I'm like, you should have at least just given that to like the Motown Museum or something like that. But that's here nor there. Had to find this. Originally was going to get this from the Michigan E-Library. Finally got it. Turns out it was a VHS tape. So I had to very specifically request be the DVD. They did. This is what I got. So if you want like a spoof, if you want like both a tribute and a parody to martial arts with a great soundtrack, a movie that you do not take seriously, that is drenched in the 1980s, and features Barry Gordy and a loving tribute to Bruce Lee, then I recommend that you watch The Last Dragon.